Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're just landing here. I'm Afefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. Sounding a little nasally today. I did some travel for the new year. Went to visit some folks, my family in Georgia. It was super cold. And so left Florida, pretty warm. Went there. Now back in and out of the cold. But it's just a cold. I'll be over it in a couple of days. But I do apologize a little bit for my voice today. Wow, like whoa, how, talk about starting out 2026 with some interesting developments, right? Of course, I'm going to look at Maduro. 100% today. Many of you have gotten quite a number of emails from people saying, "Look, there's always more than what meets the eye, right?" We knew going back to the summer when we heard about these CIA operatives going into Venezuela. We were like, okay, something's about to go down, right? And this was, of course, while all of the continued hits on the fishermen boats and otherwise, continued to happen. Here's the deal, and I agree with you. Several people were like, why is Maduro looking so calm and chilled out? Like he's flashing peace signs. He's looking like they brought him to the US basically like, come on in, we'll go have a steak dinner, right? Like he's looking pretty unbothered. I have seen some stuff, as I'm sure many of you have as well, that this indictment is like got all kinds of holes in it. Like it's not standing up for the variety of charges that are in the indictment. So there's some questions around whether or not some of these charges will even hold, and the extent to which they even have a strong case to prosecute against Maduro or his wife, etc. I want to take a look. I found out, many of you may have already known as well, that apparently Sleepy D, I call him that, apparently Sleepy D had given Maduro, made an offer to Maduro to go into exile in Turkey recently, and Maduro turned it down. He said, no, I'm not doing that. Is there a deal? Is one of the reasons we're seeing Maduro look pretty chilled out and, like, hey, this is all temporary for me. I'm not in any real trouble. Are they going to strike a deal and ultimately Maduro's going to go into exile someplace else? Let's look at that first. I've got the King of Cups. I feel like that might be Maduro's energy. And I've got an Ace of Cups at the bottom. If you read with me, when I see aces, that's my spirit guide's way of saying I'm on to something with that. So that does look like a deal. I feel like that King of Cups is him, feeling like he's good, he's groovy, he's not going to really be punished here. And the Ace of Cups. So spirit, after a period of time in the U.S., will Maduro be sent elsewhere? Will Maduro be sent elsewhere to live? Page of Swords. So where? Because for whatever reason he turned down Turkey. Conversations about where to send him. And the King of Swords. That's somebody within the justice system. What's interesting, let me ask this. Let's back up for a second, because it's really interesting that they did all of this in New York. Part of, what the guidance that I was getting, I don't know about you all, I'd love to hear in the comments, is right on the heels of Mamdani's inauguration, right? Incredible situation, tens of thousands of people showing up and braving the cold to celebrate that. So, let's put a damper on that and do, basically take over New York to do all of this. But why not Florida? That almost seemed like a more logical spot. Spirit is, will Maduro continue to be held in New York, or are they going to take him to Florida? New York, the Star, Florida, the Empress. Interesting. Two major arcana. I read this is they're going to the Southern District of New York, which currently is in charge of the situation, from what I understand. But that looks like a long-term prospect. The Empress. This feels like Bondi a little bit to me. And the idea of where there's less, how is Spirit saying this? Where there's fewer eyes on the situation, close up and personal. Where can we work the deal, if the deal is in fact to ultimately send him someplace else and give him a deal, give him a not a pass, but let him go elsewhere. It would be easier to do that, create that, generate that in Florida than it would be in New York. So that's really, I'm getting that they did that because they wanted to disrupt the flow and cause dissension. We know Mom Donnie came out, made a phone call to Sleepy D and said, hey, this is not cool, blah, blah, blah. We don't agree with this, etc. But the Star looks like there could be a delay. They're going to keep him there for a while. But don't be surprised if Florida winds up in the mix. And if Florida is where the facilitation of where to send him ultimately occurs. Now, the other thing that's come up is a lot of you have questioned, like, what's this thing with Venezuela really about? Is it about taking over the country? Is it about the oil? Is it about big oil companies going in and draining their resources? And then others have said it ain't about none of that. It's just about regime change and making a power move. I'm getting that this is about, at least in part, about money, about transactions, because remember too, this America First situation and MAGA, and you're going to have that faction that is continuing to peel off and say, what on earth? America First, really? And you've got healthcare, you've got all these other things that we're dealing with here in the US. And yet you're going to go take care of the people of Venezuela. You've got Sleepy D saying, well, all of this is going to work out to make lives easier and make life easier and better for Venezuelans. And the MAGA folk are like, a large part of that contingent are like, what? What, we're suffering. What happened to you taking care of us first? But it's transactional. Is this about going after their reserves? Minerals, oil, making money on their reserves. Judgment. This is about going into that country and taking over the reserves. And also, I feel like this judgment card is the money coming due to big oil companies and those who have put a lot of money behind this administration to get him elected, to fund his big ballroom or whatever. They're saying, listen, we did all of this for you. Now it's time for some payback for us. And we've got the Chariot. Yes, that's what I think is happening, you all. There is a large part of this has to do with large companies who have funded this administration, who have backed them to the hilt, are saying, now we want some payback. It ain't just about the tax breaks that you gave us. It ain't just about deregulation. It's also about our opportunity to make more money, to go in and take these resources. Now, Machado, opposition leader to Maduro, it was like she was so flattering. Remember when she won the Nobel Peace Prize, she just fawned all over Sleepy D. Sleepy D basically just swatted that away and said, ain't nobody thinking about her. She ain't capable, blah, 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 blah. Like he went to the height of his pettiness, right? For entertainment purposes only. He went to the height of his pettiness, basically like, at the end of the day, you said those nice things, but you did not. You should have just gone on and given me the prize and said the Nobel Prize and said it was rightfully mine. The fact that you didn't do that, I don't think you're capable. I'm not backing you. But this Delcy Rodriguez, we heard she's going to cooperate. We got all of that in check. And then Delcy Rodriguez came out and was like, no, I never said any of that. I want to take a look. Let me come up off the cleanup and go back in. I want to take a look and see what's going to happen with Delcy Rodriguez. Is she going to resist? And because we also know that even though Maduro and his wife and I guess son were taken, or at least his wife, he and his wife, that a large part of his contingent is still there and still in place. So, it's not like Delcy's sitting up there by herself. Delcy Rodriguez, the interim president now in Venezuela, she's not sitting up there by herself. There's a lot of Maduro's contingent who are still there. Spirit, are they going to, is Sleepy D, and we're going to get to Marco Rubio in a moment, Is Sleepy D and company going to make Rodriguez cooperate? Is she going to cave and cooperate? Or are they going to find themselves with some sort of mounting resistance to the U.S. takeover of Venezuela? How's this going to go? Is she going to cooperate? Ooh, 2 cards just came. Ace of Swords and the 5 of Wands. Wow. She may have to because she doesn't want to. That's, decisively, she doesn't want to, and she doesn't want to appear to have rolled over. She and the other, others in Maduro's, quadrant. But we've got the 5 of Wands, the conflict. Ultimately, they don't have the resources to really mount a sufficient, what are they going to do? Actually engage in war with the U.S.? They don't have sufficient resources for that. I think that's what that 5 of Wands is pointing to. And the 10 of Pentacles, this comes to the money as well. They don't have, financially, they don't have the backing. So they don't have the resources or the backing to be able to adequately resist this takeover by the U.S. Spirit is, and there's the 9 of Cups. Exactly. They want to, meaning Rodriguez and company, they want to appear still strong as leaders and that they are still, in control or have some measure of control in what's happening in Venezuela now. But ultimately, it's like, look, that's what we want. I think they're going to try and negotiate some sort of leaving them in power, leaving them in office, in power, so that they save face. But the de facto, our spirit is, will it be the U.S. that begins to take over policy and the economy in Venezuela? We have the 8 of Pentacles. In large part, yes. Okay, 8 of Pentacles having to do with their economy, their resources, their ability to move the oil and where the oil is going to go. U.S. has got them in a vice grip. I mean, they really do. Now that leads me to and the 5 of Pentacles. Exactly. That if you don't play along with us, Rodriguez and company, if you don't play along with us, this is ultimately going to hurt you, because we've got access to your oil. We're sending, from what I've heard, they're sending some of the big representatives from the big oil companies. I think Chevron is already there and has been there. But you got, Exxon Mobil, Sunoco. You've got some other big oil companies that are already, like, things are in motion and were in motion, Spirit is saying, in the months leading up to this. Okay? So yeah, this is what they are. This the interim president and the other people around Maduro are not going to be able to adequately resist. They're going to try and negotiate to stay in power in some way, and of course to keep Machado, the opposition leader, to keep Machado from taking over. I'm being led to ask just quickly, will Machado be able to launch? Even though she does not have the support of Sleepy D Spirit, will Machado, Maria Corina Machado, will she be able, all right. I feel like that was just my hands being sloppy. Hold on. All right. Will Machado gain enough support as an opposition leader to have a voice and to take leadership and to play a role in the future of Venezuela? Will she actually still be a factor to deal with? The 8 of Cups. I don't think so, you all. And Temperance also at the bottom. I don't think so. She's still in the mix. People, clearly she's popular. She's recognized. She is, and not only that, she's recognized, going back to the Nobel Peace Prize, she's recognized in the global international community. So she's still going to be a factor. She's still there. But will this play out down the road? Will she perhaps assume some role in power down the road as this goes on? The 8 of Wands, I think so. She's still going to be in the mix, and I think internationally, as international forces continue to get involved in this and weigh in on this, they're going to look to her. So she's not going away. And the Five of Pentacles, but she doesn't have a real leg to stand on right now. She's a visible opposition force. She's a voice, but politically being able to take over and help run the country in the future of the country, that's a long way off. Wow, interesting. All because he's mad because she didn't give him that peace prize, and she will not do that. All right, I want to take a closer look now at Marco Rubio. He's the engineer behind all of this. He's been making moves around Latin America, and he knew for a while that Latin America was where he wanted to make his mark as not only a Secretary of State, but, I think we are all very, very clear. He's got his eyes on 2028, right? He's not the next in line should or when Sleepy D exits. Clearly that goes to JD Vance, but Spirit has always said JD Vance will never last. He's not, come what may, he is not going to be a lasting figure, even if he, becomes president or interim president. He's not going to last. Marco Rubio, on the other hand, has got some very different ideas, and Spirit has also said in a recent reading that I did that Susie Wiles, in the wake of that Vanity Fair article that raised a whole lot of eyebrows, where she made some interesting comments about Sleepy D and others, that, hey, her support is sliding towards Rubio as well. There's some conversations around how to help him have that platform. I want to ask, one, we're hearing Cuba, we're hearing Colombia, we're hearing Greenland, of course, but that's coming more from Stephen Miller. I'm not getting Greenland anytime like that. There's too much opposition to that. That's where Denmark, you're talking about NATO, you're talking about the UN. There's a lot of moving pieces to that they don't want that smoke. Rubio, Sleepy D, they don't want that smoke. There's the Six of Pentacles. They're going to continue to try and work their deal. I'm looking at Greenland now. They're going to try and continue to say and talk that talk around wanting Greenland, but I don't see there's too much global opposition to that for that to go through. Spirit, will it wind up being hands off Greenland? The Seven of Wands, yeah. Stand your ground. That's of course Denmark, a part of NATO. You got NATO, you got the UN, you got Europe getting involved. They don't want that smoke. So I think for now, at least, they're going to talk a lot about Greenland because they're feeling their Cheerios right now behind Venezuela. But that's not what's happening. Cuba, remembering, we're talking about Marco Rubio and his wanting to be sort of the king of Latin America. What does Cuba have to offer? That's the key component here, is wherever they go in at this point, you all, I'm getting that there has to be a payoff. And that's why I felt the oil and minerals still in Venezuela as being a large part of this. There's got to be a payoff. There's got to be something in it for them. And Cuba doesn't have much there, but Cuba was so reliant on Venezuela. Cuba's in real trouble right now, right? Spirit, are they just going to sit back and is the idea to just let the Cuban government collapse? Rather than go in and take it over, is the idea to let it collapse? The Ten of Pentacles, financially. Just let it be crushed financially. Wow. And so is the plan that they want to let the Cuban people collapse to the point of an uprising? Because then they'd have a reason to go in and play the hero and say, okay, we'll take over. But again, to what end? We've got the Eight of Wands, quick collapse of their economy, quick collapse of Cuba's economy. Will that then give them license to go in? Rubio in particular, does he want to go in and play Big Daddy to Cuba? We'll offer you assistance, but now you're in our debt. The Knight of Wands, yeah, he's going to start making moves to do that. Is that the plan, to go in and basically offer assistance to Cuba, but under U.S. rule? Temperance. I wouldn't be surprised. That's an offer. And that's we recognize that you're being squeezed. We don't really want to come in and take over because there's nothing here for us, that you don't have resources, you don't have anything that's going to benefit us financially. But King of Latin America, Marco Rubio, being of Cuban descent, the Three of Pentacles, will work with you. We'll work with you. We don't want to see you suffer. If you get fed up enough, Cubans, to resist your government, to let it implode, then we will come in and work with you to provide assistance, but only going so far. That's only going so far. Now that leads me to Rubio's plans for Colombia, because they have resources. They've got, I didn't know this, they've got not only petroleum, we know a lot of this is around energy having to do with the U.S. positioning itself around against Russia and China, wanting to be a major player in energy worldwide, globally. That has a lot to do with this as well, I'm getting from Spirit. But Colombia has other resources: emeralds, minerals, metals, fine metals, lots of resources in Colombia. Spirit, is Marco Rubio going to target Colombia? And again, another country that could be militarily would not have the capabilities, and perhaps not the global resistance that, say, someplace like Greenland would have to stand up on their behalf. Spirit, is Rubio going after Colombia? Is Rubio going after Colombia next? The Emperor, we can stop right there. Colombia's on the table. Because what's driving him is the Queen of Cups, the Eight of Swords. They're worried. I wonder, is Colombia's leader, who's Colombia's leader? Or someone within the Colombian government. That's who that Queen of Cups feels like to me. And the Nine of Swords. The Eight and the Nine of Swords both came back to back, you all. They are extremely, whoever this is within the Colombian government, they know it's coming. Eight of Swords backed by the Nine of Swords. They know it's coming. They know that they are on the radar, and they are very likely next. That leads me to, ultimately, is Narco. We'll call him Narco. I seen a lot of that on the web. Is Narco Rube? We'll call him that. Is Narco Rube headed for war crimes? Right? Is he ultimately going to be charged with war crimes? The Knight of Cups, the Ace of Wands. Yeah, I think so. But you know what's interesting about that? I'm being led to my Kipper deck. I'm gonna look at him a little more. Narco Rubio, and you know who I mean by that, Spirit. Or Narco Rube. Call him Narco Rube. What is his future in regards to this takeover and bullying, and snatching the resources in Latin America? What ultimately becomes of him as a result of that, and the role that he's playing in that? Again, it's he's positioning himself to be a strong leader for 2028. That's definitely what he's trying to do, and put his brand on it. But ultimately, does he suffer the consequences? Does he get charged with war crimes? Thief. Woo. Ooh, wait, 2 cards came. Thief and Voodoo. There's going to be mounting, some interesting and mounting opposition. And I do feel with the Voodoo card, I'm not going to ignore that. Remember, a lot of these places, many of you know I've been open about being initiated into Ifa and into the Lukumi tradition. I had a lot of my work done and ceremonies done in Cuba. So there is work, meaning the work that's going to be done around what's happening there. The people, this is not necessarily within government, although to some extent, but this is also the people resisting and resisting in the ways that they know how, because they see their countries being stolen, like straight up stolen. is, but legally though, Spirit, legally within the legal justice system, international court, the ICC or otherwise, is Narco Rube headed for trouble? The evil eye. Oof. Between the evil eye, voodoo, and a thief. I'm almost getting it's the energy of the people of these countries that's really going to impact him. He doesn't look well. Have you seen him? He doesn't look well at all. And a karmic feminine divine, karmically. So this feels like prosecution, perhaps by a woman. It will be a woman who leads the prosecution against Marco Rubio. And change. So it's going to take a while. I think this will be when perhaps after the midterms, or when Congress becomes democratically led. And then that's when there's a changeover in DC, that's when they're going to start going after him. And this karmic femme it feels like it'll be a woman who leads. I don't know why I'm getting Comey's daughter. What was her name? I forget. Somebody will tell me in the comments. I feel like this might be Comey's daughter who gets involved in this somehow. Expectation. So his expectation is that this is strengthening him politically, strengthening him. But the expectation, I think, on the broader scale is that he's going to get taken down. He will face the consequences. He will face justice. And divination. But man, here we have another spiritually oriented card. There's a lot of spiritual energy because, again, this region, Latin America, there's a lot of spiritual energy that's being directed at him. A surprise and a health concern. So maybe he's gonna start to feel the impact because of all of this energy being directed at him. That evil eye, the voodoo, the change, the thief, and this divination and karmic femme. This could be a health consequence for him as well. Spirit, I'm ready to go back to tarot now. Spirit, are you showing me that Rubio is not going to be in good shape to even launch a campaign in 2028? Is his health going to suffer as a consequence of his actions in Latin America? Is he going to suffer a health episode as a result of his like karmic, as a result of what he's doing? Seven of Pentacles, King of Swords, that's him. And the Moon, mental. This could be substances. Again, for entertainment purposes only, I have to say that. This could be a reliance on substances and a buildup of that with the Seven of Pentacles. That it's already in motion. It's already taking a toll on him. We can see it, visibly. We can see it and have seen it for some time that, he sold his soul. So that may be, and the Page of Pentacles. So it's slow. It's a slow buildup of something, a substance in his system with those pentacles. And the Moon, it starts to take a toll on him, on his mental faculties. Yikes. Okay. Well, there we have it, y'all. So what's interesting here is I went into that part of the reading wondering about the legal system and the justice system. I do see that coming down the road. And again, we saw what looked like a woman who may lead the charge on that. But before any of that can even unfold, what Spirit showed was there's a toll that this will take on him energetically, because the people in these countries who either because they will do magical work in and of itself, but also just the divine divination, also the divine aspect of this, like really doing things deliberately that cause tremendous suffering on behalf of people throughout Latin America. That in and of itself is going to boomerang back on him energetically. So Spirit came at that from a more spiritual angle rather than legal and the justice system for now. All right, you all. I hope that was helpful. So glad to be back here with you. I appreciate you. 2026 is going to be really interesting. And I have a new I know we do our chin up, shoulders back, and remember to breathe from our heart, come from our heart, stay centered and focused in love. But Spirit also gave me to share with you all as a closing to remember this in 2026 in particular, right? Three things: sky above you, whether you see that as heaven, God, however you operate, but sky above you, unlimited room, space, love. Sky above you, earth beneath you, supporting you, solid, stable, everything that you need fundamentally, and soul within you. You are an infinite soul. In the midst of all of this, you are an infinite soul, and you are here for a reason and a purpose, and during this time for a reason and a purpose. So you will absolutely outlast, all right? Sky above you, earth beneath you, soul within you. All right, let me know how that lands. I'd love to hear from you. All right, you all, I'll talk to you real soon. Take care. I'll be back probably on Wednesday. Bye.